Back with another head that I picked up at Legion's Con. It's this, I guess, very fancy lady. I picked it up from the table run by Star Wars Geek Customs, and I was going to paint an elf I picked up from them, but one of her ears cracked. I don't know if it cracked when I was bringing it home or if the one I was given had already had a broken ear when I got it, but I'll have to see if I can repair it with some epoxy sculpt. But figured this lady would be fun to do. Now, I didn't realize when I picked her up, she has a scar over her right eye. Totally didn't notice that in a stand until I got her home. So I'm really not even quite sure where I'm going with her. I have some vague ideas. I'm probably just going to go with those. So I'll get her primed up, and I'll let you see when I come back with that. Okay, she's primed, and frankly, I'm still kind of going into this by the seat of my pants. I'm not 100% sure what color I want to do for her. I was half tempted to get weird and make part of her gold for some reason. I don't know. I don't think we're going to go with that. So for right now, I'm just going to base coat her entirely in burnt sienna because that can go in a lot of ways. It's just a good starting point for a ton of different colors. Both I'm going to do her hair and her skin that way. And realistically, you can put a lot of different colors over that and it'll work really well. It'll be darker than a lot of them, unless I want to go with black, but black will cover it, so it really doesn't matter. So just going to pretty much cover her entirely in that, and I'll be back when I figure out what am I doing now. I did the base coat, and I'm still not quite sure what I'm going with. So I decided what I'm going to do. I'm going to paint her skin first, and then I'll figure out what color her hair is going to be after that's mostly done. So what I'm going to do is, I don't think she's going to be this dark. I'm probably going to be mixing the burnt sienna as a base with the model colors Flat Flesh and potentially Brown Rose. I'm not 100% sure what I'm going for. So I'm going to mix those three colors, start to put another layer on top of this skin tone, and then we'll see how that's looking, and I'll work from there. I'm mixing up two different colors. This one is all three mixed together in a pretty even consistency, but I thought that was a bit too bright to move to next, so I made another one with a heavier burnt sienna base. I just took some of this and mixed with some of that in there. So I'm going to go over this rather lightly, see how it looks, and work from there. See, maybe a bit too thick still. So I'll leave some of the original burnt sienna in the detail areas, like her ears. I'll probably work on the scar later, but just kind of going over everything lightly right now. We don't need to get like up in her nose anymore. I am by no means a master of this. I am very bad. I don't even know what I'm doing. But you're watching me for some reason. Thank you. I don't know why you are, but I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I just watch different people paint, and I sort of vaguely comprehend what they're doing at certain times. I'm wondering if she's maybe coming out a bit too pink. Probably not. One of those things where I overthink everything. And you always have to remember paint will dry darker than it is when you're putting on normally. I'm saying that normally because I'm hedging myself because frankly, I don't know. Some paints might work weird. I don't know. Alright, so I'm missing right there, so I just wiped the paint off my brush so I can come in with a clean brush out. And I took too much off there. I'm just trying to keep it so nothing gets too thick anywhere. I don't really mind if it's a bit too thin in the middle of her forehead. I will definitely be hitting that with a brighter shade next. But frankly, that's looking alright at this point. I'll probably let that dry, and I'll come back, hit her with that lighter mix I made to really bring out some of the high points. Normally when I paint, I do a lot of things based on 80s figures. So I have to do a lot of flat colors. And I like doing that. It's nice to make things try to look clean and nice, and it's very fun when adapting old knockoffs. You get to see what the sculpts actually look like. But I don't really get to mess with skin tone mixing and such. So I'm using a lot of techniques I've tried to watch miniature painters do. So let that dry for a few minutes, then I'll be back, hit it with that. I'm going to put her in front of a space heater I'm sitting next to right now, and that will dry that rather quickly. After that dried, this is probably going to be the last time I'm going to be using this brush on her skin tone. I'll swap to something smaller after this. But we'll see how the lighter mix comes out here. Got some on the tip of my brush, and I'm wiping off excess on a paper towel next to me. And we'll just see here. Take a look at this, you'll see areas that are messy. Don't worry, I'm going to go clean those back up after this. This is just a general check of what do I think of this skin tone for her. And you might know she looks a tad different now. Well, I can tell you what happened is, for some reason, the paint wasn't drying well around the edge of her forehead and down on her cheek. It was rather chunky looking. So unfortunately, I had to paint strip her entirely and start over again. I pretty much did the same exact paint stages, but I did add red and orange, bold pyrrole red to it because she was coming out a tad dull. So I'm going to hit her again with another layer that is, once again, lighter than this. We'll see how it looks. I'm not 100% sure if she might be becoming too pale now, but that can always be adjusted later. So I'm doing roughly, like I said, the same mix. We're now heavily favoring the flat flesh at this point as our main base color, but it's still roughly all the colors. I'm just like slowly building different areas of the paint up. Okay, now I'm going to wipe it off my brush. And let's see, yeah, see, that is too pale still. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab some of the old mix, work that onto the brush there. Let's see, how is this looking? That's not bad. Just kind of come up, follow where the light would be up on her forehead. I think I got her skin tone done. I think it came out pretty nicely. It's got some nice depth, but nothing too crazy. The hair I'm still not sure about. I'm thinking maybe red, but I'm also kind of on the cusp of going with black. I think I could maybe touch up the skin a bit there on her forehead. Otherwise, I think it's pretty solid. So I'm going to hit her eyes, white them out now. Then I'm probably going to go do her lips next. After that, and then I was still debating the hair, I'm probably going to go red on it. So I'll get out the smallest brush I have out right now. Get a little bit of water on it. These brushes hold liquid incredibly well. And my white paint been sitting out too long? Nope, there's a tiny bit left. Perfect. Let's see. I really do think we're going with red hair on this. So I think we're going to go with blue eyes. So what I've been doing with eyes recently is I take a darker shade, like I got the Vallejo Mecha blue, which I actually really like. This is a very nice blue. Tiny bit of that out. I'm just going to get that on the brush. Very much. Now, I'm going to be a mess because I'm always a mess here. Just going to do her eyes. silver a bit too far. Honestly, one of my biggest weaknesses is eye consistency on both sides. Not bad. So we'll let that dry. That won't take long at all. And then what you do after that is you then get a lighter color, the same. And this is the model color Deep Sky Blue. Shake this up. This is a kind of runny paint. While I'm doing that, I'm going to hold her down in front of a heater next to me for that to dry. And now we take this blue, put a little bit out. Get a tiny bit on the brush. Then we just go over the blue and just try to get the interior to be this shade. We use the darker shade as the outer edge of the eye. Doesn't need to be perfect, but there we go. Now let that dry, and then we will add the irises. And while we're doing that, we will also do the eyelash line, which actually we can start with that right now. Some black paint here, and here comes another one of the things I am the worst at. And of course the paint's is not working with me at the moment, and is sort of ignoring the high points. Which is not what we want, which makes me think I need fresh black paint. The next day, some stuff happened. So I had to stop yesterday and I ran out of time, and I got her eyes done. And originally, the reason I stopped is she originally came out cross-eyed, so I had to fix that. I also tried to do a quick wash to highlight the scar, and it came out a bit blotchy, and I did her eyebrows while I was doing it. So I came back today, and I was mixing the skin tone to fix that. And if you notice, there's some lighter blotches here, because I used a slightly different mix. I included the dark warm flesh from ProCurl in the mix with the red and the orange that I used the last time, along with the flat flesh from Model Colors, and it made it this slightly more vibrant shade, which I think works quite well because originally she was vaguely grayish, not horribly so, but just enough to look kind of off. So I'm going to use that as a highlight color now. I'm going to go in and touch up her forehead and maybe bring it a bit on the cheeks, tip of her nose. Going to use it to clean up the areas I want to clean up, but also make her pop a little bit more, not quite so gray. Okay, I went over those areas on her skin again, and I think they look pretty good now, rather smooth and everything. I touched up some of her makeup a little bit just to make it a little bit cleaner, but I think it's coming along pretty well. So I'm pretty committed, I think, to red hair at this point. I mean, it's been this way for so long. But the one thing is, I actually kind of like the look it has right now. Obviously, it's not finished or anything, but I think I might want to pull it a tad more red just to get a little bit more away from the skin tone. I mean, it's not bad right now. So I'm debating what I might just do is I'm going to try something. I'm just going to get a little bit of red out. You know, bright red, this is not a natural hair color red, but just a tiny bit. Put that out in my here, just a little bit, and then I'm going to try to use it like a glaze, which is not something I'm particularly good at. So I got to get some water. Watch me using the terms wrong here. And I'm just going to get a lot of this really wet down on this brush, wipe off a bunch of it, and just try to go over this and see what effect it does. Obviously, this is nowhere near done. It'll need proper work after this. So how does this look? It's a bit too much. But we always gotta try things. So I'm just gonna work this in some more, and then I'm going to come back and probably mix up with the red. I'll probably add a brown and an orange to it and come over lightly and see how that's looking. But yeah, right now I sort of get what I'm going for, where I want to push it away from that bit, but it has a lot of like texture work in it already from doing the skin tone. So I don't want to get too crazy with it, but I'll see what I get. Right back. That mix, and now we'll try round 2 with this. It's a little bit duller now and a tiny bit more realistic. Alright, I got all her hair covered in the mix I did there. It's not perfect because we're going to be highlighting it and everything, but I thought, well, I'll try a wash. So I added royal purple and black to the mix I did with a bit more brown, and I really watered it down here, so we'll see how this works. That's not watered down enough. That's a bit too gray. I think I'm going to add some red to this mix, but we'll see here. Actually, when it's properly watered down, that's not bad. Maybe a bit more water to the mix, and then we'll see. Yeah, I'm not great with washes. That's fully something I don't really get yet. Remember, it's just kind of sitting in areas. You don't want that, so let me add a bit more water. And back. So the wash didn't work out great. It ended up darkening all her hair too much to begin with. So I came back with roughly the same mix I used originally and sort of just dry brushed over it. And frankly, I think that worked pretty well in the grand scheme of things. It added some nice variance to the hair color. So I'm going to do, I have a mix without the brown, so just the red and the orange. And I'm just going to wipe off a ton of that on my paper towel here, just a little bit on my brush, and just sort of use that to dry brush this more or less. Make things pop a bit. Right, got that looking pretty decent. I'm going to do a slight yellow mix now of that. Just tiny bit of yellow, add to that one I had there. And then we're going to be hyper careful with this. We don't want to overdo this. This is just the very peak. she's done. I put a gloss coat of varnish on her eyes and her lips just to bring those out again, but I think she came out pretty darn good. There can maybe have a bit more pop to it, but I'm pretty happy with that. Some areas are maybe a bit wonky, maybe a tiny bit, but I think for the most part she came out pretty nice. Once again, one of the things I don't do very often, so it's nice to get an opportunity to try some different things. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good one.